I'm Katie. In August of 2007, my husband and I found out that we were pregnant with our third child, and there was a mix of emotions. We were excited, we were um, not super excited. We kind of had thought we would be done having kids after our last child, and we but we, at the same time we were excited about it. um, we went in for normal prenatal testing and things, sometime in early October, and found out that we had a 1 in 10 chance of having a child with Down syndrome, um, which was hard to hear, but still a 9 out of 10 chance that we wouldn't. And we went in for our ultrasound on October 31st of 2007 and found out that um, there was a really good chance that our son had Down syndrome. So they sent us to a genetic specialist who talked with us about all of our different options, which was a very strange conversation for my husband and I to have with a doctor. Um, Neither one of us believed in termination of a pregnancy for any reason. So I felt really uncomfortable to sit in a room and have someone talk to you about um, terminating a pregnancy that seemed like it was otherwise healthy. Um, but as time went on, we had more and more tests done. We did find out that our son did have Down syndrome, but we also found out that he had a heart defect. Um, that's not very common, just in general, but also not common or normally associated with Down syndrome. It was, but it was incompatible with life, is the way they put it, which I guess is a nice way of saying that your child is probably not going to survive. Um, when we found that out, they revisited the subject of terminating, which we still were not on board with. Um, I mean, we, I think we mostly felt like miracles happen. Who knows? They could be wrong. Um, Different stuff like that. Um, I went into labor with our son on November 14th, or well, late November 14th, early November 15th. And we were in Madison, Wisconsin. And the hospital that we were at um, offered a chaplain. So when I had gone into labor, the person on call was a Catholic priest. And my husband and I were not Catholic at the time. He was raised Catholic, but I'd never even been to a Catholic church, so I was not familiar with Catholicism at all. Um, but this man came and he prayed a blessing over us and was very kind. And then he left, and then my labor progressed, and my husband got very ill. They think it was food poisoning, so he ended up getting admitted to the hospital. And this priest found out that he was admitted to the hospital, and he came up and sat in my room with me while I was laboring. And he stayed there with me until Joe came back, and then was also there when our son was born, and offered to baptize him, which was a really emotional thing for us because I didn't expect it. We weren't Catholic, so I didn't expect him to. I didn't really know how the rules worked as far as that was concerned, but it was a really neat thing, and he stayed with us. He baptized our son, and then he stayed with us until Jackson passed, and was kind of there with us through that whole experience. And looking back on it, it was kind of funny that this Catholic priest, who's never been married or had children of his own, was basically my labor and delivery coach for like 12 hours or something. I'm sure it was somewhat uncomfortable for him, but he soldiered through, and it was very nice that he was there. And we left the next day, which was a very hollow feeling leaving there, after having given birth to 3 children that had survived and lived and I brought home with me. Leaving the hospital without your baby was a really difficult experience. And I know it was difficult for my husband as well. It's still one of the only times in my entire life, in our entire married life, that I've seen him cry. But it was, we made it home, and life goes on. I feel like our faith life before that was pretty strong. I mean, we went to church very regularly. My kids were involved in youth groups and different things like that, and it was hard after, because you see all these people that they knew you were pregnant, they knew you were having a baby, and they're just your acquaintances through church, just these people so they don't know all the ins and outs of everything that happened. So it was hard to go back to church after that for a long time. And for a long time, I found different escapes, not during the day or anything like that. Like, it wasn't like a serious problem or anything as far as alcohol went, but it was definitely every night, just to help me sleep and to sleep through the night kind of thing. And it could have gotten worse, but I feel that God intervened on that part, because my husband and I found out just 3 months after our son passed that we were pregnant with our youngest daughter, Addison, which was a mix of emotions. It was terrifying and exciting, and but didn't want to get too excited. I was very nervous that something could be wrong with her, and that was a long pregnancy. It was, anytime anything happened, it was very, very scary. It was also kind of sad that she was a girl at first, just because we have 3 daughters, and then that was our only son, Jackson, that passed. And so it was kind of sad that we were having another girl, but I wouldn't trade her for anything. She's an amazing little girl. But we moved here. We moved to Green Bay, and I wanted to get my kids involved in private school, so we joined St. John's School. And initially I joined St. John's Parish just to get like the tuition discount or whatever, honestly. But once I went through the RCIA program and really got involved, St. John's, like being part of the Catholic Church, it really changed my life. I felt more at home in this church and more connected in my relationship with God being a part of this church than I have anywhere else that I've been throughout my life. And I met other women who had gone through similar losses to what I had gone through, and they were inspirational in my life, just meeting them and hearing how they'd been through something, sometimes in my opinion, far worse, because their children were older, and they had still come out the other side and were still filled with joy and God's love. And it was heartwarming to me that that could happen. And it really did help me to get to a point where I could feel filled with joy again, and help strengthen my relationship with Christ through these people that I met and got to know on an intimate level. And so hopefully by watching some of these videos, you can see that that everyone can get through these difficult times in life, and you can come out the other side. and you can be filled with joy, and you can have fun, and you will laugh again, and those things will happen, and you will find wonderful things in your life, especially if you continue to stay close with God and allow Him to walk you through it, because in the moment it doesn't feel like these things are blessings, but like the finding out I was pregnant with my youngest daughter, it didn't feel like a blessing. It was terrifying, and I wasn't prepared, but it ended up being one of the greatest blessings of my life. So sometimes you see these things happening and you're like, oh, I can't handle that right now. I can't handle that right now. But God knows what He's doing, and it turns out to be something pretty spectacular. So I want to finish with a closing prayer. It was one, honestly, that I just read this morning out of my Daily Conversations with God book, and I thought it fit really well with my topic. So, Lord, you comfort me when my heart aches, when everything in my life seems to be going wrong, when the world is full of violence and disaster, when loss is everywhere I look, when hope is dying inside me. Your comfort never fails. Thank you for offering me that constant care in my life. Help me to always extend comfort, care, and compassion to others as well, ultimately leading them to you. Amen.